welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Turn the Page. I'm your host today, Jen, and today I am joined by the author of a number of lovely contemporary romances who is here to discuss one in particular that is currently absolutely making me fall in love. Like, it is seducing me. It is such a lovely, lovely book, and I am enjoying it so much. So welcome. Could I ask you to introduce yourself and your book, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Clayborn, and I am the author of The Paris Match, which is out on April 7th. And it's the story of a recently divorced woman who has to attend the destination wedding of her former sister-in-law, and her ex and his new girlfriend will be there. So it's sort of an awkward premise that ends up in a very, I hope, romantic love story.
Yeah, so awkward. Like, just the very premise gave me sympathetic hives. I was like, oh my gosh, no.
I know. I felt bad putting her in that position, but
Before we get into the Paris match too much, I'd love if you could talk a little bit about your journey as a writer and perhaps your other writings leading up to this.
yeah. Well, I think probably not uncommonly, my sort of journey into being a writer really started for practical purposes at the library. Um, I kind of throughout my life have always sort of the center of my life has always been reading and writing in my professional life and things like that. But several years ago, when I moved to a new place, I was starting a new job, and just I was sort of at a transition point in my life. And in this new place I was living, I got a library card. That's like first thing I've always done. Um, and at that library, I picked up a book. It had this blue cover with a shoe on it. And the on the back, or maybe on the inside, the about the author was the author was from Ohio, and she had done her graduate school at Ohio State, and that's where I grew up and where I had done my graduate school. And so I kind of got the book because I was homesick. And it turned out to be Jennifer Cruzy's Bet Me, which was the first genre romance I ever read. And I loved it so much. And I think from the time I read that book, I was like, oh, like if you ever write a book, this is what it is. Like I felt like I had found something essential about me that clicked into place. And so I read and read and read tons of romances and really got to know the genre well, and then eventually decided to try writing my own. So yeah, started at the library.
Love to hear that. And, great advice for anybody who's moving. Like, one of the first things that you should do is get your
Yes,
library
get
card.
your library card.
Oh, so
Yes.
what was the inception point for this one? Was it a character, a mood? Was it the setting itself? Paris is just like, oh, so like luscious and beautiful here.
Yeah, it was, I think like a lot of my books, it was sort of a combination of things. Definitely Paris is one of them. Like the first time I ever went to Paris, I sort of thought, oh my gosh, if I could ever write about this, that would be such a amazing thing. But I think I'm really fascinated by the kind of imaginative hold Paris has on people. So for me, before I ever went there, it was a place that I aspired to go, and I imagined it as I really just had a certain vision of it in my head. I imagined it as perfectly romantic. And when I had the idea for this book, I really wanted to write about a woman who had gone through what we call an amicable divorce. And I thought about sending her to Paris, a place that she had had an experience with as a younger woman. Like she had experienced it in that very imaginative, romantic way in her mind. And she's going back to it now with a different perspective on life. And Paris for me is a city that invites that. It reflects something about who you are when you're there. So it was really this combination between this sort of fascination I've had with this phrase, amicable divorce, and then Paris.
Mm. So, oh yeah, two things there. So let's touch Paris first.
Yeah.
I agree, and I'm so happy about the way that you just phrased it, that Paris sort of shows you something of yourself because, by this time I think it's really become a cliche to say like, oh, Paris is a character in this story or like what
Yeah.
have you. But it does feel to me that like Paris plays a subtle role in the proceedings of this book, like it's
Yeah.
significant that they are in that city and it works on them in a specific way.
Yeah, it does. I think I tried to think about how both of these characters confront both kind of like the big parts of Paris, the parts that like loom really large in our minds, like the Eiffel Tower, that's what everybody thinks of, or Notre Dame, especially like in the aftermath of its reconstruction. So I wanted these specific characters to confront those big things about Paris, but I also wanted them to confront some of these like quieter but very transformative things about Paris, looking at a piece of art in an unexpected way, or a city street that smells a certain way or hits you a certain way. I wanted them to have a full experience of that city. That was the goal.
Mm. Yeah, and I think the Parisian lifestyle, or maybe like the European lifestyle more
Yeah.
broadly, it does this really nice thing for the story where, there are like high stakes, like there,
Yeah.
which we will get to shortly.
Yeah.
But it also allows the book to have like a little bit of like a hangout feel to it,
Yeah.
and the relationship develops at a it feels like a leisurely pace, even though there's like a compressed time frame in which this is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, that was a challenge of the book, like balancing the timeline with what I wanted to be. Like I intended it to be a very slow unfolding between them, despite that compressed timeline. But like this city, in some ways, the city allows you to do that, right? Like the city is a place that invites you to wander, right? If you're open to it, right? If you're open to it in Paris, you don't need to go from tourist stop to tourist stop. You can really wander that city and have an incredible day, an incredible experience.
Absolutely. And to take your time, like
Yes.
that whole, I think, European lifestyle thing of like, it is practically like illegal just to like have a 45-minute quick in and out lunch somewhere. Like you
Yes.
are going to be there for a while and like, luxuriate over the meal and enjoy yourself and enjoy the
Yes.
people you're with and yeah, all that
I
stuff.
think the first time I ever went to a cafe in Paris, like it was all I thought about, that like nobody had their laptops out. It was um it was like a sort of transformative moment for me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to the point about the phrase amicable divorce, this was very resonant for me as a child of divorce, and it did kind of drive home for me that even an amicable divorce is not a painless one,
Yeah.
even if things go ideally, all of the things go right in all the ways that you would hope they would, it's still going to like deeply, deeply affect you.
Yeah. And I think, the use of that phrase, I think it really has become sort of a buzz phrase in the last decade or so. You hear people say about their own divorces, like, oh, we split, but it was amicable, or like we're being very amicable for the kids, or whatever. And obviously, I think when a divorce is amicable, that seems like it is better for everybody involved. But I also just thought a lot about the concept of amicability. So the need to be sort of pleasant through something deeply unpleasant and painful. And I think I suppose I was a little fixated on who in our society is socialized to be amicable. Um, who bears the weight of being pleasant and putting aside their feelings to make peace or whatever. And I think that really inspired me to write Layla. Layla is a character who I think has really taken that socialization on board. the divorce was very painful for her, and she has not wanted to show that pain to anyone for fear of disrupting the niceness of it all. So yeah, I think I liked I always like meditating on something like that whenever I'm writing a romance, something thematic, something that I think is going on in the culture.
That's so interesting. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that you can kind of see it functioning for Layla in two different ways. Like there's the degree to which like insisting on the amicability of the divorce is a kind of like social lubricant or a nicety, to sort of like make the people around you more comfortable.
Yes.
But then it's also sort of like a shield. It's a little bit of defensiveness that like sort of
Yeah.
keeps your own vulnerability at bay too.
Yeah. I mean, I think she has not acknowledged even to herself how devastated she was. And I think like that pressure of amicability sort of forced that upon her. So I think I love that part of her journey in Paris is like learning to be more open to the range of human feeling.
Yeah. Oh, so let's talk a little bit more about Layla and Griffin.
Yeah.
I am so interested in the combination of their personalities as well as their like it's not a meet cute or a meet ugly really. It's like a meat mixed bag, you know?
Yeah. I like to switch it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, as I have said, like Layla's personality and kind of who she has become in her world, right? This sort of unflappable, very calm, very pleasant person. I knew that the person she had to meet was a person who was almost stunningly opposite of that. I mean, Griffin, he is sort of mean. I don't think sort of, he's mean. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't really have a lot of patience for sort of like social niceties. There are reasons for that. But I think he is sort of harsh and uncompromising. He doesn't really think about easing the way for the people around him. And I think Layla needed to be around somebody who sort of responds to pain or discomfort in a way that she doesn't allow herself to.
Mm.
But similarly, I think he needed to meet someone who taught him how to be in the world again, who taught him how to be a part of society again, because he hasn't been for so long.
Absolutely. Yeah, their arc together and the flavor of the romantic tension between them is really, really interesting. And the fact that it has this like, you know, gorgeous city that sort of like, in the ways that you were describing, like encourages a kind of self-reflection and almost like risk-taking and vulnerability a little bit,
Yeah.
it all like unfolds in a really interesting way. Um, so with the two of them in particular, and I hope this question makes sense. I'm having a little bit of trouble like with the phrasing of it. Does the arc come first, or do like the character elements like does the characterization determine the arc? You know?
Yeah, I think that I know exactly what you mean. For me, the characterization comes first. Like as a romance reader, I am a very character-driven reader, more than I am like a trope reader, or I don't seek out particular tropes or things like that. It's always I'm always drawn to like what is the what is the goal of the characters I'm reading about, and what are their like wounds? What are the things they're healing from or or not healing from? Um, so I am always thinking about that first. Sometimes I'll think of sort of both characters at the same time, sort of like this character is this way and this character needs this.
Mm.
Sometimes I'm thinking primarily about one character first, and then I sort of start dreaming up the love interest based on that. But yeah, for me, character is always king for me. It's always what comes first.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think it's really interesting the way that, gosh, another difficult to sort of verbalize thing. When you do that kind of like deep character work first and then put them in weird or interesting situations that
Yeah.
are going to like test and expand and like challenge those elements about them, you know, it then allows you to like that plot that you then create for them allows you to discover those new parts of the character. So it
Yeah.
becomes like dialectic in some ways.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think when I went to Paris most recently, um, to think about this novel in a lot more depth and detail, I had a pretty set characterization in my mind. And what was wonderful about that was that, of course, the trip changed some of that characterization, but the other thing was that like sometimes I would be in environments and I would think, I know just what Griffin would see when he sees this, right? So the way I thought about the characters shaped the parts of Paris I ended up writing about, I suppose.
Oh, that's cool. I'd
Yeah,
love to know more about this trip. I guess so I imagine you visited the places that the characters visit in the book.
I
That's like that
did.
like method writing. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the places I had been to before, and so these were like revisitations. But yeah, I think when I went, my goal was to like experience the city in a pretty, I don't know if I'll be able to say this, but in a way that sort of lacked an itinerary. So I wanted to just sort of like see where the days took me. And the whole time I was doing that, I was thinking about how characters would respond to certain places and certain things stuck with me. So yeah, I was very lucky to be able to do that.
Nice. That's a very cool and interesting lens to like do not tourism, but sort of like cultural explorations through,
Yeah.
like it's sort of like how would this person that I am percolating react to this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really curious too about how character and the arc between these two characters affected your structure and the choices that you make about the different POVs in the book. Because you delay Griffin's POV chapters, and it's such a smart and interesting choice that I don't necessarily want to spoil. So I'm going to leave my question there and let you kind of do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a writer, like a part of craft for me is like thinking very intentionally about point of view. I've written single point of view, I've written dual point of view, I've written present tense, I've written past tense, right? I try to think very intentionally about what's right for the story. And in this case, I did delay Griffin's point of view. And one of the intentional reasons for that is that I think when you first meet Griffin in the novel through Layla's point of view, I think Griffin is not capable of having a point of view for those first couple of chapters. And I think readers who pick up the novel will see that I think, going through something that makes it incapable for him to have coherent thoughts. And so when we meet him, I think we get insight into the, I suppose, we get introduced to sort of the rhythm of his thoughts as they are at a very stressed out moment for him. And then as the book progresses, his point of view chapters, the rhythm of them changes, right? Because he's changing, he's experiencing something different. So yeah, I think the same happens for Layla, right? Her opening point of view is, you can see she's desperately trying to like make the world more orderly and more calm. That is her way.
Mhm.
And that changes throughout the novel too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really lovely. And I think it allows you to really closely identify with Layla, because you sort of go on her journey with her. You don't know anything about him before her that
Yeah.
creates a sense where you are just sort of waiting for her to catch up. You are
Yes.
in there with her. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's so lovely and it's such a lovely read.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. Thank you
you're,
so much.
you're so welcome. What is next for you? Are you writing currently? I know you're probably, sort of deep into the promotion of this title,
Yeah.
but what's on your horizon?
I'm writing currently, but in the very early stages of something. So it's almost like I'm in the stage where I'm very superstitious about it, where it's sort of like if I say literally anything, the whole thing will fall apart. If I sort of like blow on it, the whole thing will fall apart.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm writing now, but I do think you're exactly right. I think there'll be sort of like a couple months of hiatus while I get the Paris match into the world and do all the attendant things associated with it. So I'll have a little breathing room, and then when we get to summer, it'll be full speed ahead on the next thing.
Hey, well, happy writing.
Yeah.
And I know that you'll be here in New York at the Ripped Bodice, which is like one of my favorite places
Yes.
in the world. Like not even one of my favorite bookstores, just one of my favorite physical spaces. It's so
Yes.
beautiful.
I'm so excited to be there. Yes, I think I'm there on April 10th, and it's my first time. This is my first book tour ever. And it's my first time being at the Rip Bodice in Brooklyn. I have been before to their first store
Mm.
in Culver City, but this is my first time going to the Brooklyn one. So I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
Oh, excellent. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again for taking the time to talk to
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, it's been really lovely.
Yeah. Get your library card, everyone.
Yes, yes. Excellent message to end on.
Yes.
As well as, your homework listeners, please check out the Paris Match. By the time that you hear this, it will be out in the world for just a day or two. So please pick it up at your favorite library or bookstore or website, wherever you like to go for your books. All right, it is time to close this chapter. We'll see you next time.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.